Hello, Thrivers. Today, I want to talk about the danger of limerence for trauma survivors. Now, why am I specifically talking about trauma survivors when it comes to limerence? The reason I'm doing that is because when you understand what limerence is, okay, by definition, it's almost like this uncontrollable obsession that you get towards somebody, this uncontrollable, almost unconscious need to have that person reciprocate their affection for you. So when I hear the words unconscious, this uncontrollable part of you that is just, flaring on and just making you feel this intense need, it makes me think of what's unconscious, right? If it's not conscious, then it's what is unconscious inside of us that is causing these limerent feelings. And what is in our unconscious is unprocessed trauma. So the reason why I want to kind of make this connection and help trauma survivors understand the danger of limerence is because you can wind up creating the same kinds of relationships over and over and over again. And who wants that? So first of all, when I say trauma survivor, it could be that you've been through emotional trauma, maybe by a narcissistic parent, but that is not the only thing that causes trauma. Right? It could be that you had parents that had addiction problems, or maybe you had parents that loved you, but maybe you had a single parent that had to work so much that your emotional needs weren't met. Or maybe your parents were emotionally unavailable. Any of those scenarios can cause emotional trauma. And it's that emotional trauma that comes alive when you see a limerent object, okay? And a limerent object is something that you, or someone, I should say, that you feel this intense spark with, right? It's so intense that you can't stop thinking about this person. It leads to these obsessive thoughts. And it's interesting because we can tend, again, if we don't understand limerence, we can tend to think that this is our soulmate. After all, we don't feel these intense reactions with other people. It might be just with this one person. And by the way, we can feel limerence for a boss in a non-sexual way as well. A boss or a friend. It's not just about intimate relationships. It could be this intense need that you feel for the approval, acceptance by a specific person. Okay, so let's talk about why that happens, what exactly is going on inside of your body, and how you can start breaking free of it. So the first thing is to be able to spot and understand what it looks like. So when I heard about limerence, and I learned about it, it took me a little bit before I could really see it come alive in my life, because there were a couple of relationships that I guess I had limerence with, but it wasn't exactly how I read about limerence, in the sense that it wasn't like this automatic spark with this person. Like there was no interest in one relationship that I had. There was no interest in this person in the beginning. But as time was going on, something happened that it's almost like this person's behavior, their actions, their way of being somehow reminded my nervous system of unhealed and unprocessed trauma from childhood relationships. And on a conscious level, I wasn't seeing it, but my nervous system started picking up on it. And so what happened, and this is how I realized it was limerence now. I mean, obviously then, I wish I had that information then, but I didn't. Anyway, I realized it was limerence looking back because of the intense need I had to get the affection and approval of the other person. So things were happening in this relationship that, had I not been in limerence, I would have been like, this is unhealthy. Like, this is bad behavior on the part of the other person. Like, why would I want to tolerate that? But my brain wasn't looking at those things. It kept me in this hamster wheel of, no, Michele, it's your fault. Try harder, try harder, try harder, be better, do more. Find the secret formula to make this person happy. It's your job to find the secret formula to make this person happy. And it was so focused on that it wasn't even looking at the toxicity and the emotional manipulation and control that was going on. And that's the danger of limerence, especially with trauma survivors. Because if you had trauma in childhood and you've been getting your life together, right? And you're living life and the trauma is dormant, it's not even affecting you. If it's dormant, but unhealed, unprocessed, anyone at any time can remind your nervous system of that unhealed trauma. And once it gets kicked on, we start showing up in the programs, the subconscious beliefs that as children we developed as coping skills, which were, it's all your fault. It's all my fault. I have to make my caregiver love me because my life is on the line, right? It was like interlocked, those coping skills were interlocked with survival. And that's why that intensity for reciprocity is so intense, because a child needs that reciprocity to feel safe. A child should have that, deserves to have that. But if they don't, that fear of not having it kicks on people pleasing, it kicks on codependent behaviors, sacrificing self to please a parent, giving up on your own authenticity and your own individuality and doing everything to make that parent happy, disowning pieces of yourself that the parent doesn't like. And when that's unhealed, that's what we do in relationships. When somebody opens the door to that trauma, we feel this unconscious obsession to be with this person. And we wind up delving into those same behaviors. It's not about me, it's about this person. I have to make this person happy. I need this person, almost like there's a sense of survival on the line. And what's showing up is your child mind at those moments showing up in the same emotional states and the emotional mentality that it had when it was dealing with the emotional trauma of the past. Think about that. Think about that, because we really have to let this sink in so that we can break out of that cycle. And if that unhealed trauma is still unprocessed, you can leave a toxic relationship, learn about the narcissist, leave that, right? And if the trauma is still there and you try to compartmentalize it like you did in childhood, it doesn't work. We might think that we're going to be fine. And we get into relationships and we start seeing these patterns show up inside of us. Why? If we're intelligent people and we don't want those toxic relationships, why does that happen? The reason is because what is unconscious and unhealed has more strength and power than what is conscious. So the key to breaking out of relationships where you feel this my hair's on my face, sorry. Okay. The key to breaking out of those repetitive relationships where you can't stop thinking about the person, where you are craving their reciprocity, where you feel as without their approval, you feel like you're going to fall apart, right? The key to that is to heal those wounds inside of you. And that craving comes from your child mind. Your child mind has unmet needs. And so moving forward in life after trauma involves allowing ourselves to go back a little bit, not to marinate in the past, but to process and release what is still stuck in the nervous system. And when we do that, we can break out of limerence and we can start having healthy relationships. Otherwise, if we don't do that, here's the thing. You might meet a really healthy person that is capable of loving you the way you deserve. But that doesn't feel comfortable to your child mind. That doesn't feel comfortable to your unhealed trauma. Your unhealed trauma is seeking something similar, a relationship that's similar, so that it can bring up what's still stuck in your nervous system to process and release. So you'll wind up passing by or passing over healthy relationships, healthy people, and feel this intense emotion towards unhealthy people and confuse that with your soulmate or love. when it's really limerence. Okay, so just wanted to clarify that for anyone that's struggling with getting to those childhood wounds, getting to that unprocessed trauma, you might want to check out the Thriver School of Transformation. We are currently closed. The doors are currently closed for enrollment, but we open for 5 days in February. February 1st to the 5th, we're going to open. And what the school is a monthly membership. We have 9 to 12 meetings every month. The cost of the whole membership is $79.99. You get 9 to 12 meetings live that we meet on Zoom. So it's not like you're just going to get information and have to do it alone. You're going to do it together with myself, as well as a lot of international thrivers all over the world that meet together with us. And we work through the side effects of complex PTSD, childhood trauma, and narcissistic abuse together. The weekly assistance is so vital because when you're working through subconscious programming, the subconscious learns through repetition plus emotion. So it's not about learning it once and then thinking that you've got it. It's about the consistency that really helps to work through it. So watch for the link for the School of Transformation, again, February 1st to the 5th. And I hope this video helps you to start realizing how you can start breaking out of limerence and why it even happens in the first place.